Hello, so I will be continuing Black Beauty. So right now we are in chapter 4, A Stormy Day. And we have a little drawing right here to show us kind of how the scene is going to start out. So one day late in the autumn, Squire Gordon needed to go to town on business. John and the squire rode in a light, high-wheeled cart. I always enjoyed pulling it. It rolled along so easily. There had been a lot of rain, and the wind was blowing leaves across the road. We went along merrily until we came to the toll gate at a low wooden bridge, which went straight across a small river. The man taking the toll money said the river was rising fast and that it might soon lap over the low bridge. He feared that it would be a bad night. Many of the meadows were under water. In one low part of the road, the water was almost up to my knees. I was not afraid. The squire drove me through it carefully. In town, the squire's business kept us waiting for a long time. It was late in the afternoon when we started home. We went along beside some woods. The big branches were swaying about like twigs. The rushing sound of the wind was terrible. I wish that we were out of these woods, said the squire. Yes, sir, I do too, said John. It would be terrible if one of these limbs came down on us. Soon there was a groan, and a crack, and a splitting sound. A huge oak crashed on the road before us. And right here we have a drawing of the big tree that fell on the road. The wind had torn it up by the roots. I stopped, trembling with fright. I knew better than to run. I was taught to stay when I should. John came to my head in a moment, and I felt better as he rubbed my eyes. That was close, said the squire. What should we do now? John went to look at the tree. The tree is very big. We can never get over it. We will be stuck in mud if we try to drive around. We will have to go back to the crossroads, the squire said. It will be miles before we get back to the bridge. It will make us late, but beauty is fresh, John said. We went back and took another road to the bridge. By the time we got to the bridge, it was very nearly dark. We could see that the water was over the middle. That was usual when the river was full. We would go slowly through the water. It would just be over my feet. Squire Gordon kept me going along. My feet touched the first part of the bridge. I knew there was something wrong, and I dared not go forward. I stopped. And here we see Black Beauty stopping, not wanting to go on the bridge, and Squire Gordon trying to get him to keep going. There is something wrong, sir, said John. He came to my head and tried to lead me forward. Come on, Beauty, what is the matter? He asked. I did not know what was wrong. I just knew that the bridge was not safe. I did not feel right to my feet. Just then, the man at the toll gate on the other side ran out. He waved a lantern. Oi, 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 hello! Stop! He cried. What is wrong? Shouted the squire. The bridge is broken in the middle. Part of it is carried away. If you come on, you will all go into the river. Beauty knew, said the squire. Beauty knew something was wrong. You Beauty, said John. He gently turned me around to get to another road. I trotted along easily. I heard them talking behind me. They said that if I had gone onto the bridge, we might have been drowned. People use their minds to find out things, the squire said. Animals have a wisdom that we don't understand. They save our lives sometimes. When at last we came home, Mistress Gordon ran out. Are you really safe, my dear? I've been so worried. Have you had an accident? No, my dear, Squire Gordon said. We would have if it weren't for Beauty's wisdom. And here we see his mistress and them getting home. Your Black Beauty was wiser than we were. He kept us from falling in the river at the wooden bridge, he told her about our trip. What a good supper John gave me that night. I had a good wet bran mash and some crushed beans with my oats. Then he gave me such a thick bed of straw, I was glad of it, for I was tired. And here we see him with a big bed of straw, and him with his eyes closed because he's very tired. Sometime after that, John and I were driving down a road. We saw a boy trying to leap a pony over a gate. The gate was so high that the pony couldn't jump it. The boy got off and gave the pony a hard thrashing. Then he got on again and tried to make him jump the gate. He even kicked the pony shamelessly. The pony put down his head and threw up his heels. He sent the boy neatly over into a thorny hedge. Then he set off for home at a full gallop. John laughed out quite loudly. "Served him right," he said. "Ow, ow, ow," cried the boy. His feet looked funny sticking up from the hedge. "Come on, come and help me out." "No, thank you," said John. "I think you're in the right place. A few scratches will teach you not to jump a pony over such a high gate." The boy pulled himself out. He started walking home. John and I went to see if the pony got home. John told the farmer what his son had done. "He got a lesson from this," the father said. "He has mistreated the pony before. I shall stop him from mistreating the animals again." We went on, John chuckling all the way home. When he told James about it, James said, "Served him right. My teacher at school talked to us often about cruelty. He said it is mean and bad to hurt the weak and helpless. Good people are kind to man and beast. They are never cruel." "Your teacher never taught you a truer thing," said John. And next is chapter 5, The Fire. And here we have a little picture of where this chapter is going to take place. So one December morning, John had just put me in my stall when the squire came into the stable. He looked serious. He said, "Good morning, John. I want to know if you have any complaints about James. Does he work hard and is he respectful?" "Oh, yes, sir, always," John answered. "He is never lazy when you turn your back." "Never, sir. And if anything has been saying that about James, I don't believe it. No one can take away James' character. He is a steady, pleasant, honest, smart young fellow." The squire stood listening. Then a broad smile spread over his face, and he looked over to the doorway where James had been standing the whole time. "James, my lad," said the squire, "I knew John would speak highly of you. Sir Williams is in need of a good young groom. You're to start in 6 weeks if you are pleased with the offer." Though he would miss us all, James decided to train for the position. John and the squire had him drive us often so he would learn more. At first, John rode with him on the driver's box, telling him this and that, and soon James drove alone. Then it was wonderful to go into the city on Saturday. The squire would have James drive us through strange, interesting streets to get used to the busy traffic. He drove to the noisy railway station, even with cabs and carriages, carts and wagons all around us. James learned to be a very good driver. And here's James riding the carriage. Later, Squire and Mistress Gordon decided to visit some friends, and James drove Ginger and me. The first day we traveled 32 miles. There were some high hills, but James drove thoughtfully. He gave us time to rest if the road was very steep. At sunset, we reached the town where we were to spend the night. We stopped at the best hotel. James took us to the hotel stables. 2 grooms were in charge of caring for the horses. Here's another picture. The head groom was a pleasant, active little man with a crooked leg. With a pat and a good word, he led me to a long stall. The other man brought Ginger. James stood by while we were rubbed down and cleaned. I was never cleaned so fast and so well as I was by that little old man. James rubbed his hands over my back and he found my coat as clean and smooth as silk. "Well," James said, "I thought I was pretty fast. You are the best I have seen at grooming. You are fast and careful at the same time." "Practice makes perfect," said the man. "I have had 40 years' practice. As to being fast, why bless you, that is only a matter of habit. If you get into the habit of being fast, it goes easier than being slow. I've been with horses since I was 12 years old. I love them. I love seeing a well-cared-for horse, like this one." He and James saw that the other groom had cared for Ginger. They brought out corn and then they left the stable together. Later on, the groom brought in a traveler's horse. Another young man came into the stable to talk to him. The young man had a pipe in his mouth. "I need more hay for the horses," the groom said. "Will you run up the ladder into the loft and throw some down? Only lay down your pipe before you go up to the hay loft." I heard the other man open a trapdoor. He stepped across the floor overhead and then put down the hay. James came in to check on us one last time. Then the stable door was locked and we horses went to sleep. I woke up feeling very uncomfortable. The air seemed all thick and choking. I heard Ginger coughing. One of the other horses moved around in his stall. I could see nothing in the dark, for the stable was very full of smoke and I could hardly breathe. And here's a picture of somebody leaving the pipe right there and all the hay and straw back there. The trap door to the loft above us had been left open. I heard a low crackling and snapping noise coming from overhead. There was something in the sound so strange that it made me tremble all over. The other horses were now all awake, pulling at their halters and stomping their feet. At last I heard steps outside. The groom who had put up the traveler's horse ran into the stable. He began to untie the horses and tried to lead them out, but he seemed so frightened himself that he frightened the horses still more. None of the horses would go with him. He tried to drag me out of my stall by force, but I was afraid and wouldn't stir. He tried us all by turns and then left the stable. No doubt we were very foolish, but we were frightened. Danger seemed to be all around, and there was nothing we could trust. Everything was strange and uncertain. The fresh air that had come in through the open door made it easier to breathe, but the sounds overhead grew louder. As I looked upward through the bars, I saw a red light flickering on the wall. Then I heard a cry of fire outside, and the old groomsman quietly and quickly came in. He got one horse out and went to another, but the flames were leaping from the trapdoor and the roaring overhead was dreadful. Then, next thing I heard was James' voice, sounding quiet and cheery as it always was. "Come, my beauties, it is time for us to be off. Wake up and come along." He came to me first. "Come, Beauty, on with your bridle, my boy. We'll soon be out of this fire," he said, patting me. The bridle was on in no time. Then he took the scarf off his neck and tied it lightly over my eyes. Patting and coaxing, he led me out of the stable. Safe in the yard, he slipped the scarf off my eyes. "Here, somebody," he shouted. "Take this horse while I go back for the other." A tall man took my bridle as James darted back into the stable. I sent up a shrill whining as I saw him go. There was confusion in the yard. Horses were being let out. Carriages were being pulled out of the sheds. People were shouting all about me, but I kept my eyes fixed on the stable door. The smoke poured out thicker than ever, and I could see flashes of red light. In a little while, I heard Squire Gordon's voice above all the noise. "James! James Howard! Are you there?" So here's him. Here's Black Beauty. And the dude that took him out of the stable and wrapping the scarf over his eyes. There was no answer. I heard a crash of something falling inside the stable. Then I gave a loud, cheerful neigh, for I saw James coming through the smoke, leading Ginger. She was coughing, and he was unable to speak. "My brave lad," said the squire. He put his hands on James' shoulder. "Are you hurt?" James shook his head, for he still could not speak. "Yes, indeed," said the man who held me. "He is a brave lad. Your horses know whom they can trust." "Rest a moment and catch your breath," said the squire. "Then we'll get out of this place as quickly as we can." And here's Black Beauty, then Ginger, and then him coming out of all the smoke. Suddenly from the marketplace there came a sound of galloping feet and loud rumbling wheels. "It's the fire engine! The fire engine!" shouted several voices. "Stand back! Make way!" Two horses clattered over the stone street and dashed into the yard, pulling the fire engine behind them. The firemen leaped to the ground. They started pumping to force water onto the burning building. It was too late. The roof crashed down on everything inside. We went to another hotel where we were put into safe stalls. James went back to find out more about the fire. He found out that the careless man who had gone up into the loft to throw down the hay had started it with this pipe. 2 poor horses were buried under the burnt roof. Ginger told me that my Whiny saved her that night. When she heard me, she knew I was safely outside. That gave her the courage to follow James. And here's the firefighters putting out the fire. And that's it. Chapters 4 and 5. Make sure to write down everything you remember from the story. Thank you.